Hi everybody, today we're going to look at the Dell UltraSharp webcam and how it compares to the Elgato Facecam. Now both of these cameras are $200 and they promise DSLR-like performance with larger camera sensors, but are they worth $200? Well, let's find out. And I'll start with a quick unboxing for the Dell. So this is the box that the Dell webcam comes in. When you open it up, you'll see it's a nice tubular looking design, great aesthetic, great industrial design. And you'll notice it's kind of wrapped here in this cellophane wrap. I'll go ahead and unwrap that. And there we go. Now the camera's out, and you can see it's got this nice Dell lens cap on. It's magnetic. This actually goes on the back or the front, and you'll see that it's got pretty nice glass and pretty nice sensor in it from a webcam standpoint. So it's looking pretty good so far. And you can see there's a nice IR camera that's built in for Windows Hello, so that's all part of the sensor. Now if I take away this layer, I've also got a nice long USB-C to USB-A cable. It's about 2 meters or 7 feet long, so it's nice and long there. And there's also a mount for a tripod that you can use the camera with. This is all magnetically mounted into the camera, into that rectangular slot. And here is the camera mount that you'd use on top of your monitor to be able to mount it normally. Now, one thing to note here, the rectangular magnetic part pivots up and down, but it doesn't pivot left to right. So you don't have kind of the left to right angle pivot that you would have when you attach the camera to your monitor using this mount. So I'll just show you how this fits in with the camera here. And it snaps right into place with the rectangular slot in the bottom of the camera. So it's in there nice and taut. It's a very strong magnet, and it will fit most monitors. And when you connect the Dell webcam, it launches its own Dell Peripheral Manager app. So this is Dell's app that comes with the camera. You can see it loads automatically. I'll get started. And now when you start setting up the camera, you can see there are a bunch of modes here. You got default, smooth, vibrant, warm. And the camera's a little bit orangish. It's a little bit more like the Logitech Brio kind of out of the box. So the closest here from my white balance perspective, I think, is smooth. But from here, you can tweak a few more settings like the auto or the AI auto framing. So when you turn that on, the camera actually zooms in a bit. And as you move around, it's going to basically track you from position to position to give you a nice frame no matter where you are in the picture. So now once you've got that all set, you click next. And here you can turn on HDR, which is good for lower light situations. So you can see it kind of brightens up the image a bit, but there's still auto exposure in my case. And now from here, we can actually use some of the camera's controls. So you see here, there's the control for field of view in addition to AI auto framing. You see we have 78 and 65 degrees of view that's available. We can also do priority of frame rate or exposure. I personally like it to be more set to exposure. And you can also change the image settings for the camera. These are kind of the main settings here. So I tend to turn off the auto white balance. It was a bit orangish as you remember, but now I have it closer to 5500 Kelvin, which is what my normal lighting is. And I can tweak the brightness a little bit, turn up the sharpness, turn up the contrast, and, dial in the settings a bit more so it looks a bit more natural and closer to my Sony cameras that I'm using as my primaries. If we scroll down, you can see that there's also settings for saturation, so you can turn that up or down. And flicker settings you usually don't need to worry about unless you're going from PAL to NTSC regions with different hertz power. But those are some of the main settings for the camera. Once you dial it in, it looks pretty good. And one major feature that sets the Dell UltraSharp webcam apart from the Elgato Facecam is the integrated Windows Hello IR sensor. And you can use this to log in using multi-factor authentication to Windows 10 or Windows 11. And it's also pretty easy to set up. Let me show you. Okay, so from settings, you go to Windows key I, you can get to settings, search for hello, and then you can set up face sign in. And then you'll see facial recognition there for Windows Hello. I click Setup, and you'll see that I just have to click Get Started. It automatically will detect the camera, so I'll add my PIN first. And here you can see we're on, in this case, the Dell UltraSharp webcam. It's detecting my face here. to be able to set up Windows Hello. Takes just a few seconds. I'll hit close. Now I'll log out with Windows key L, lock my screen, and then it will find me and log me right in. I'll dismiss the screen and I'm back into settings. All right, so now let's take a look at the Dell webcam with the image tweaked a bit to see how it looks. After that, we're going to take a look at the Elgato Facecam. So this is the Dell UltraSharp webcam WB7022 at 4K resolution or 2160p. This is the Dell UltraSharp webcam WB7022 at full HD or 1080p at 30 frames per second. This is the Dell UltraSharp webcam WB7022 at 1080p with 60 frames per second. By the way, you can't use this as part of that auto framing mode, so you have to disable auto framing in order to get to 60 frames. So that was the Dell, but now let's take a look at the Elgato Facecam. Now this is the Elgato Facecam set to 1080p at 30 frames per second. This is the Elgato Facecam with 1080p and 60 frames per second. Okay, so which camera is better? Well, on the image quality alone at 1080p, I'd have to say that the Elgato performs better. That said, it doesn't have the Windows Hello IR sensor, which is much more convenient and secure than logging in using a password. So I'd say that if your primary use for the webcam is actually streaming, then go with the Elgato. But if you're looking for an all-around nice performing camera that also supports biometric login, then go with the Dell UltraSharp webcam. It's better than Logitech Brio, aka what's now called the Logitech 4K Pro webcam, and both of these cameras from Dell and Elgato have really nice software compared to what I've seen from Logitech or AverMedia. Now, if you want to spend just a few more dollars, now in my case I spent $221 on the camera setup that you're seeing right now. It's a used Sony a5000 I got from eBay. It's also a newer f1.8 lens. It's manual focus, prime lens. And you can also get a budget capture card and a dummy battery, again, all for $221. And this image is going to blow away any webcam that you buy, whether that's the Dell or the Elgato or the AverMedia or anything from Logitech. And again, it's about $20, maybe to $100 more expensive, but you're going to get something that performs much better from an image capture standpoint. But you do lose some convenience compared to a plug-and-play webcam like the Dell and the Elgato. So I hope that this helps you decide which camera to get, and if it did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and as always, thanks so much for watching.